Welcome to Morning Coffee and Mimosas. I'm Cristina.
And I'm Joe.
We are a father-daughter duo. We come here Sunday mornings, but you can come here anytime you please. We banter about life, about business, and we do it over coffee and mimosas.
Good morning, Cristina.
Good morning, Dad. I don't know if all of the listeners are dancing as the,
I love
intro
that.
comes
I love
on,
that
but
little
it
intro.
really, I don't know, it just makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully
Yeah.
everybody else feels a little happier when they hear that too.
But I like it.
Yeah. You don't have to change a thing
No.
for this week. Next week
No.
I'll probably come at you with a critical eye, but
Yeah, don't change the opening to like some hip hop thing or something. I like what I have here.
how do you think I would create some kind of hip hop thing?
I don't know.
I'll beatbox? Is that a new talent of
I
mine?
don't know.
Well, Dad, happy Father's Day.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
It's Father's Day. This is kind of perfect. And for our listeners that are celebrating a father, are a father themselves, are missing a father, wishing you all a happy Father's Day too. It is no easy job what you dads do.
Well, thank you.
I know moms might challenge that and say you have a much easier job, but today is your day.
Thank you. And, we make a big deal around Mother's Day, and us fathers get, oh, yeah, I did. Thanks. Happy Father's Day.
But Dad, what do you really want for Father's Day though?
I don't want anything.
Isn't like we've always asked you, and your main wish for Father's Day was kind of just to be left alone?
No, actually.
Or just to be with us,
no,
right?
to be with you. Yeah, exactly. I don't want anything. I don't need a card or anything. I just want you around. That's all,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are the gift.
I remember growing up, and my dad would be the same way. He'd be, I just love when you're all around. And I used to say, what did that make you happy that I'm around? I couldn't understand that.
You're like, you enjoy my company?
Really? I was like, I would think you'd want me away,
No, but it's funny because sometimes like Mother's Day, there's the big get-togethers. But I feel like for fathers, you want to do something that's just kind of peaceful.
Right. You can sit around while I watch TV.
Yeah, like watch a scary movie together, or
Exactly.
you're like, I don't want to party, and just keep it simple.
Yeah.
But
No,
anyway,
it's very true.
Happy Father's Day to you dads. Hopefully you're all doing something to celebrate and feel special today. And I'm especially appreciative, Dad. Thank you for bringing me into this world. Thank you for tolerating me through the years. It hasn't always been morning coffee and mimosas.
You think?
No. So thank you. And so today we will celebrate you. And, at some point I'll let you tee up a topic, but I think because it's Father's Day and because we're going to kind of celebrate you today, it might be interesting as a topic to think about the seasons of fatherhood. And what I mean by that is, as I think about where we are right now, today, and the relationship that we have, we're having so much fun doing this podcast. But I think back to my memories of growing up, right? And the different seasons of life from my perspective, if I look back to high school. We were not peers. You were not my friend.
No, I was not your friend.
We were maybe frenemies. I don't know. But I think back to that, and I think back to, like when I was little and idolized you, and it would be so cool to really maybe hear a little bit about your perspective. And I think it would be cool for our listeners. There's probably people listening at all different phases of life. Some maybe don't have kids. Some maybe are new dads that have a baby at home. Some may be going through adolescent years and starting to wonder why they chose to have kids. And others are kind of where we're at right now, right? But the point is, it'd be really interesting to hear about how you approached all of these different seasons of life and what that meant in your world. Did that make any sense?
Yes. No, it did. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just always thinking about like, how did you change how you were to me? Because you probably didn't change who you were at the core, right? But the guy
you made me change. You beat me into a different person.
I'm sorry. I'm not a fighter.
No.
But yeah, so I don't know where we start with that. But
Well,
who were you before kids?
Who was I?
I hear, you had a mustache. I hear you played in a band, right? So, who were you before?
Well, I think the way I am now is the way I was before, if that makes sense. But I like your seasons.
So Stella got her groove back.
Exactly. But it's interesting because when you think about it, every father, we're just people. Fathers and mothers are people, right? With our own weaknesses and strengths and so on. And then you have kids, and there's nothing more rewarding. And I can't explain it until you have kids. You can't feel it. When you're born, there's some attraction that is just amazing. And I'm going to tell you a cute story. I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember when our niece Teresa had her first baby?
Yes.
And she came to visit grandma?
Yep.
Right? And so you were I think you were a beginning teenager, and you were probably starting that separation and being a teenager.
Yep. I do remember that visit.
You were holding the baby, and you were, oh my God, this baby's so adorable and all that. And I remember I looked at you and I said, Cristina, do you feel what you're feeling right now? And you're like, oh my God, I love this little baby. And I said, that's the feeling that continues through the years and prevents me from killing you now.
You were like, thank God I held you as a baby,
right,
and you were really cute and sweet, because I would kill you otherwise.
Right. It's
I didn't know where you were going with that.
Yeah, it's so true, because there's this bond, that is, you can't express it. But that same bond is what makes me act probably irrationally at different times in your, and when I say you, obviously Greg and, Anthony also, but when you start pulling away as a teenager, and I don't mean to jump to teenage years, but I'm just saying that as a parent, there's a lot of fear and worry, because we want to protect you from all the bad things that are in the world. And as a kid, you don't understand what's the motive behind, you can't do that, don't go here, I don't like that person.
Right.
And you just think, my dad, mom are just creeps. We're miserable human beings. But that's what's behind it.
I mean, I won't argue that that's how I felt for some years.
Right. So that's the hard part. But so if we start earlier, I loved you kids were just magic.
We did offer a bit of magic, didn't we?
You did.
Just that sparkle.
Yeah. It's a lot of work and the whole bit, but it was just so cool that we have this responsibility.
And you did get very lucky to have 3 really fantastic kids.
The best.
I mean,
the best kids.
Looking back now, highly rewarding.
Highly rewarding, yeah.
Would recommend.
Yes. Well, I will remember, it wasn't you because you weren't the first, but I remember when Anthony was born and Mom was still in the hospital and I had to go home. So, he's born and everything's fine. And I remember I came home that night and I'm in the house by myself and I'm laying in the bed and I said, my entire world is different now. Mm-hmm. It's a new deal. I'm on a new team. It's a new company.
You have a new boss.
I have a new boss. He's like tiny and weighs 5 pounds or whatever it was. So it's true. And then you just start acclimating, the diapers and this and that. And the whole focus is you kids.
And I see that now with friends of mine, I don't have kids, but friends of mine that do, right? And the kids are different ages, but a lot of them are new parents. And, I'm watching as they're navigating this new normal and just the people that they were. I mean, they're the same people, but it's like just a totally different perspective, seeing it from the other side, and just like the, kind of being on the brink of insanity at all times and trying to hold it all together.
It's really true. And it's so funny. I looked up this quote, and we had this quote on our refrigerator when you kids were really little, and I think it fell off or something before you remember it. But it was supposedly a quote from somebody in the 1600s who said, before I had children, I had 6 theories about raising kids. Now I have 6 children and no theories about raising kids. And it's so true, because people have asked me this, you had 3 kids, and they have babies, what's your opinion about whatever? And I give no advice. I say, I have nothing to offer you. And they're like, but you raised 3 kids. I know, I have nothing to offer you because everybody's different.
Well, and we are all so different.
You're all different.
So the whole question of like nurture or nature, where you have three very, very different kids. We were all brought up the same way.
Right.
You know, we all had the same rules for the most part.
Correct, but you're all different people, you know, and I don't really believe like that apple falls far from the tree. That's too general, because you're all individuals. You know, so all we can try to do as parents is to frame our values and all that, and then hopefully do it in such a way that when you start to pull away and go out on adventures that we can't supervise anymore,
right,
that there's a little bit of dad and mom in the back of your head that says, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that, or be careful with this, right?
Yeah. Some of my best memories being young, like very young, like more probably elementary school age, was going with you to different, like when you had take your daughter to work, or when I would go with you when you were a Dale Carnegie instructor and, you know, get to lead the class with you, or go to Rotary meetings. And maybe it was because everybody made a big fuss about it and I was like very special for a minute. But I feel like that probably shaped a lot of where I've gone and trying to kind of picture my professional future. But I don't know. I always really appreciated those times together.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I loved bringing you. Like when I would bring you kids to Rotary meeting or to something, I was showing you off.
Wait,
you know?
you took those other two?
Those other
I thought
two?
this was our thing.
Sorry. I'll only talk about you, Cristina.
I'm just kidding.
But you had a great time being with me, but I was beaming. I was having a better time, you know what I'm saying, being with you and showing you off. And when you came to the Dale Carnegie, you know, here I am, I'm the instructor of the class, and I bring my daughter, and you were, what were you, 10?
I don't remember.
Maybe. I mean, you know, little. And you gave a talk, and it blew me and everyone else away, because you literally raised your hand and said, can I do a talk? And everybody was like,
I did.
Yeah, you did. And these people in the class are nervous wrecks to give a talk, and they're like, your daughter wants to talk? And then you gave a talk.
I wonder what I shared.
I was actually impressed because you actually listened to the format, and you gave a talk that basically followed the format.
Wow.
That some of these adults couldn't do.
Well, as an adult, I'm not sure I could do that on the fly. So
no, you have a lot of talent
very
with that.
impressed with my 10-year-old self.
The other thing is, I was on the board for many years of the Foundation for the Handicapped, and when we would have a lot of work, you know, we'd ask for volunteers from the Rotary and stuff. So I would bring you to the foundation to help package stuff up, to handle their work. You jumped in and actually did stuff.
I always really liked kidding.
Kidding?
My company kidding. You know, putting like packets together. Like, because I remember that's what we would do. It'd be like stapling something and then putting it in a folder and then taking like a CD and popping it in, or a tape or whatever it was at the time.
And it was rote work. It was repetitive. And
I actually had fun with it. Right. I remember.
I hated that stuff because I'm not good with. Once I've done it, I kind of get bored really quick. So, all right, I packaged this thing up. And I remember you said, and this is why I want to tell you that as a parent, you learn more from your kids. You really do. We grow as people because of you. And I remember you were just packaging it up, and I was remarking, wow, you're just doing it. Like, in other words, we have 1,000 to do, and you just basically knuckled down and did it. You know, not the whole 1,000, but worked with everybody. And I was bored, and you said, just get into a mindset and just think about other stuff and just do it.
And I said that?
Yeah. And I was like, damn, she's smart. Like,
wow.
In other words, stop complaining, like stop bitching, Dad, and just do the goddamn
Dad,
job.
Shut up and do the work.
Right. You know, when you think about that, yeah, that's how you do things that are kind of mindless and repetitive that you have to do and you don't want to. Just make it a thing. I think you also said make it a little competition. Like you were trying to do so many in a minute or so many in whatever, and you created this little competition that made it work.
Well, you know, Dad, we could talk about me forever. So this episode's
really
not about me.
Oh, and I'm going to tell you one more story when we moved into this house.
Oh,
so
God.
That was 20 years ago. So you were 14, 13.
Dad, we've established that you don't know how old I am right now, so don't be careful. And these are very choppy waters right now.
Well, we moved into this house, and I absolutely hate painting. Again, it's rote. I'm not good emotionally with stuff that, I look at a whole wall and I have to just keep brushing and put paint on the wall. I don't like that.
I'm very good at mindless activities.
Well, you were great. I had the master bedroom. There was some type of wallpaper across the top.
Oh my God, that wallpaper. It was
and I had to use a chemical,
floral.
And then I had to use a scraper and get it off. And I did all that. And then I was like, oh, we have to paint now. And I'll never forget, you said, Dad, it'll be fine. And you went and got the cassette recorder or the CD player and you put on an Allman Brothers album and you just turned it up and said, come on, we'll have fun. You literally got me through painting that room.
I also got you through building all of my furniture in my bedroom. That was the first time. I think I was in high school then. That was when we moved in here. I think it was my freshman year of high school. And I was the first time I got exposed to like serious profanity from you.
From me.
Usually it was me saying something and you smacking me. But anyway, we digress. We've gotten each other through things. But when I think about that, and I think about, you at different stages, and probably the high school years are the most profound flip, right? Flip of the switch. Because I remember elementary school, I still idolized you. And then as it got into middle school, middle school, I remember wanting you to drop me off around the block. Like, Dad, no, don't pull up in front. And you always joked about that. You're like, do they think you drive? Obviously someone's dropping you off.
You had that little counter job at the restaurant and I used to just drop you off. And then all of a sudden you get to that age and you were like, drop me off down here on this corner. I'm like, Cristina, they know you don't drive. Somebody had to bring you here. But you didn't want your old man in a car that probably was embarrassing to you.
Yeah, I did not like your car at the time. But whatever the case, I was an asshole in high school. I mean, I did not give you an easy time. So but you also were incredibly strict. And I think now where people are like, oh, your dad is so cool and your mom is so, oh, they're awesome and you guys are so much fun. That was very much not the case when I was in high school. I had absurdly early curfew.
Midnight is early?
It was not midnight. My curfew was 10 p.m. until I was 16. I wasn't allowed to go to parties. But what was your rationale? And a boy I was dating, my freshman year of high school or sophomore year, he would call and you would be like, it's 10 p.m. The phone calls end. But how did you flip the switch? Because you are not a tough guy like that.
It's again, we're flawed as people, right? So I mean, we're people, right? I'm a parent, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm a person. And I told you how much I love you, and just it's that unbelievable feeling having you. So protection is in order. And as you start in the teenage years pulling away and pushing the envelope and all that stuff, it's a fine balance between protecting you and not ticking you off so much that you get, I just want to run away type thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't that drastic, but you know what I'm saying.
I did run away a couple times.
But I think the best analogy I could say is when you're up to those ages, so think about that, let's say 12, 13 years. We have you, it's a cocoon where, you would, Daddy, can I go over here? Yeah, you can go over here. No, don't go over there. And you listened. Or I would hold your hand and we could protect you. And it's very scary as a parent as you start to, drift away in the sense, not drift, but push that envelope away a little bit. And so that's the balance that we overcorrect, undercorrect, overcorrect, which causes you to think we're irrational and stupid. And so we set an artificial thing, 10 o'clock. I don't know what's a good curfew. What the heck do I know? So 10 o'clock, you're only 12 years old or 13, whatever the ages are. A good analogy is that if you picture you're together with us and everything is fine, and now you want to walk ahead. And I don't know what the dangers are ahead. So all I'm thinking is there's people that want to give you drugs. There's guys that want to take advantage of you. There's all this stuff. And I got to protect you from that. And you're too stupid to protect yourself. So I'm going to, Mom, and I'm saying Mom and I are going to protect you. So that's the 10 o'clock curfew, or that's
or the
this
not
guy
allowed to. So some of the rules I recall, and I remember this because my rules were very different than most of my friends' rules. Mm-hmm. It was...
That's, by the way, not to interrupt you, but that's another problem because our rules are different, but every parent had different rules. You just see that your parents
parents are jerks.
Are jerks, right.
Why can't I let me live? But I remember, 10 p.m. was my curfew, and it was like, people aren't even going out until 9. I have like an hour that I'm allowed to do something. Mm-hmm. No, I was not allowed in a car with a boy. I remember there was in high school a couple of older boys that we were going to go out, and you guys, we were going to a movie, and you wouldn't let them pick me up to go to the movie. So I needed to be driven there by my parents and then call them, or they'd wait in the parking lot and then pick me up again.
Yeah, and I know, and it's embarrassing for you, right?
It was, and right. I was like, all my friends are like going to a party, and I'm like, I'm not allowed at a party.
Yeah.
So it was, but then something happened. So like you guys were really strict. I definitely pushed every envelope. Mm-hmm. I found ways around it, which definitely tested your patience. So, then there was something that switched though. All of a sudden, I feel like it was 17 years old, maybe. I don't know. Like when I started driving, maybe was when...
Yeah, well, then we realized that we're done.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden at 17 years old, and I don't know if it's that finally you were like, maybe she finally kind of gets... I don't know if like you finally were like, you know what, I think she knows what we're trying to do here. I have no idea. But all of a sudden it like, maybe it was senior year of high school, or maybe like going into my freshman year of college, I'm not sure. But something switched, and you guys all of a sudden became cooler and nicer. Where it was like if I came home and had a little too much to drink, it wasn't like, oh my God, you're grounded for a month. It was, oh, you're going to have a headache tomorrow.
Well, you bring up a good point, because that's part of the dance that we did as parents. I remember one time some mom called us. You were drunk at the house. And I remember I picked you up. You couldn't even stand practically. And the mother was very
Dad,
aware.
I have a reputation to uphold here.
She could stand.
I was like 16 maybe, right? I don't know. Something like that, right?
Yeah, I don't remember. You weren't driving, obviously. I know you didn't drive there, and it wasn't that type of situation. But the mom was worried because she evidently wasn't really paying attention, and somebody brought alcohol to the house and all that. So she was worried that, we're going to sue or something like that.
That was the first time I remember. That was the first time I ever got drunk, and it was the last time I ever drank Jack Daniels. It was like somebody had a bottle of whiskey and it was just getting like passed around. We were like 16, I think, and I had never drank before, and I hadn't really eaten because I was working before that. I came right from the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And I remember it was the worst night of my life, and I got grounded for like a month.
But if you remember what I told you, and I remember I told the mom, I said, don't worry about anything. Like, she was freaking out. But I remember, and I don't know if you remember, but I told you, if ever this happens again, call me. In other words, Mom and I wanted you to know, don't ever, like, because you're going to be driving soon, say, my parents are going to be mad, I better get home. I remember I said to you, always call us, no questions asked, and so on. And we didn't bother you till the next day, and then we were just like...
I mean, no, Mom was very not nice when I got home.
I understand because of the thing, but you know what I'm saying.
No, but you're right. You're right.
And so these are the things that, we're just trying to protect you. But then, like you said, we could see, yeah, she drinks, she parties, like, we all did and so on. But you were good. We weren't as worried about you. We saw the path you were going on, and it was okay.
Yeah, you're like, okay, she's just doing normal, stupid shit that
Correct.
Kids do.
She's
not
a
like...
kid. She's still a kid, just as we were.
Yeah.
Because I remember I went to a New Year's Eve party, and typical party, the guys showed up and the girls didn't. We were just so depressed because the girls never showed up.
Shocking.
And the mom had made like potato salad, coleslaw, and all that. So if you can imagine, we're drinking beer and mayonnaise and all that stuff. And I got sick as a dog.
I was going to say you were lactose intolerant.
Yes,
and
I did. Sick as a dog. And I'll never forget, I walked out of the house. I threw up on the poor woman's porch. And it was a rainy night. And I walked home. And I walked in the house, and I could still picture my mom and dad were just standing there. They looked at me, and I remember my dad smiling. I went to bed, and the next day I was like, I had a pounding headache or whatever. And he was like, "How do you feel?" You know, like you did good, right? How do you feel? You feel like crap, right? Yeah, good for you.
So he knew that was like enough
but
punishment.
That was like my time where my mom and dad flipped kind of and said, all right, I think he's going to be okay, and he'll get a natural consequence from this. You know?
Yeah. So you had some of the same, like with your
Of course.
looking at your own parents, but yeah, I don't know. So I guess that's just for me, like, was the questions of like, how do you change, and adapt. And I think for our listeners, like everything in life is adapting, right? You have a kind of a new normal, you have a new routine, you have some kind of like a new
right.
calling in your life that's like, holy crap, I got to protect these like humans that I created.
Right. And you mentioned seasons. So, there's the protective season and everything is fine because you love us and, you are doing what we say. Then you pull away as a teenager and so on. And the last thing I'll mention about, you said we were strict, and I'm one of 6 kids. My mom was the disciplinarian. She was great, I'm just saying, but she had 6 of us, and she had to keep tight rein on us, right?
She didn't have time to coddle you guys.
No, and I'll never forget, my mother lectured me and mom and said, remember, you love your children, but they don't have to like you. You're raising your children. Don't be their friend at this point in time, not forever. Mm-hmm. She said, do not attempt to have your kids like you. Do what's right. And that was always in my head, which I still think is great advice. I didn't need you to like me. I just wanted to make sure you didn't, fall into bad stuff. And the other thing that frustrated me was when you kids did things that I know my mother would have killed me if I had done it. Punishment was pretty quick, and my mother, and back then you got hit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything that, my mother was great. She didn't hurt us, but she'd hit your backside. And that frustrated me when you guys did things or said things to me. Like, I remember you got mad at me a few times and said, I hate you and I wish you were dead.
I know, and I remember
and in my
that.
head, oh my God, I said, if I said I hate you to my mother,
you would have been dead.
You'd be visiting me in a cemetery. And I couldn't imagine. How do you say that to me? Like, how do you...
Well, and I have memories of actually saying those things. And then after, getting out of the car, because we were fighting and I don't remember what it was, and getting out of the car and then, praying and being like, I really didn't mean that. Please don't. Please, I love him and please don't kill him.
And I knew you didn't mean it, but these are...
It was, but that's what kids do sometimes. And I don't know, maybe kids in general. I mean, I was terrible at that point in time. I think I probably have been trying to make up for some of the awful things I've said for the rest of my life. But kids say such mean things to their parents sometimes. And it's sometimes they're just brutally trying to cut at the core, because it's
well, I remember thinking
what's
when I was
gonna
a
really
kid.
Hurt you? How do I say something that's gonna rip your heart out?
I just never said it. My mother would discipline me for something and send whatever, and I'd be under my breath, but I would never tell her that. So
and I think a lot of times, I always remember it. I was always trying to push the envelope and see how far I could push you.
Mm-hmm. You did.
So if I say it once and then the consequence, you know what I mean? It's and then you push further and then you're kind of oh my God, that was horrible.
Yeah. But to kind of wrap this up, the teenage years are hard for everybody. They're hard for the parent. They're hard for the kids. But I do have to say, you went to college, and I think that's where we become friends, and I'm more of a guide and mentor and help. Because then can you help me with this, help me with that? And
right.
It goes back a little bit to when you were young, but now you're not young. And to bring it forward to today, I'm absolutely thrilled. You and I are peers. We are friends. We love each other as father-daughter. But, how cool is it that we are equals in that sense? And I love that.
Yeah.
So
well, and I mean, that's the only thing I just I laugh sometimes, because if you had gone back and pictured life when you were raising teenagers and I was 15 and telling you I hated you, Like, you probably could never have pictured this as where we would be.
No, I hoped it would get to here, but I never knew.
You were
it would.
probably hoping that, like, you know.
I hope she calls me once a year at least.
You're like, I hope she doesn't put me into a nursing home real early. And
Well, that's what they say. Be nice to your kids because they choose your nursing home.
yeah. But I don't know. So I guess maybe for listeners or parents that are going through some of those rough years right now, there is better times ahead.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The sun will come out tomorrow, hopefully.
And the sun is shining now.
Yeah, and I've been
So
very
thank you.
lucky that you put up with me for all those years and that I had a really good example. So, yeah, for Father's Day, this is
Thank you. This was fun.
yeah, just a kind of trip down memory lane and a little glimpse into some of the good, bad, and ugly of my growing
That's
up.
good.
But yeah, life is good. Happy Father's Day. And
Thank you.
I hope everybody gets to feel celebrated today.
Definitely. All right. Wherever you are, whatever your story, thanks for spending time with us this morning. Now, go and make a difference in your world.
If I ever have a kid, it's going to be like karma coming back for me.
Just keep playing this podcast. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.